Welcome back to the Limitless Show, everyone. My name is Christo, the People's Champ.
Yeah, TPC.
And
Mr. TPC.
as always, we are super honored to be sharing another podcast with you guys. Right by my side, I've got Benny, I've got
Mate.
Top D. How are you guys feeling?
Mate, we're feeling good.
We're feeling good.
We're feeling good.
That's
Let's
what I
do
love
it.
to hear. And
feeling
thank you
good.
guys again for joining in on another podcast. And we appreciate the feedback as always. And we actually heard from you guys that you want us to chat around mental health because
big topic.
it is a big topic.
Yeah, let's
and
do it.
I personally, I deal with mental health as well. So I think a lot of us deal with this on a regular basis. So the first mental health that we heard back was around anxiety, right? And I think this sort of piggyback from our last episode when we talk about overthinking. But maybe for the viewers out there, Simba, from your end, how do you differentiate between anxiety and overthinking?
Oh, anxiety and overthinking.
Beautiful. And
Yeah.
and just before you go on, a little disclaimer
Yeah.
to the audience: we are definitely not health experts. So if you guys are suffering from serious mental health, definitely go seek help. But we're gonna be sharing our experience and some of the lessons that we've observed when we were coaching other people, right? So hopefully this can add value
Yeah.
to you guys. But Simba, let's start off with that. What's the difference between overthinking and anxiety?
Yeah. Well, I'll start off with, have you guys ever heard about the Mobius loop? No, or the Mobius strip? So Mobius strip is basically this kind of like loop. You know, like the infinity sign? That's a Mobius loop because it never ends. Right. It just keeps going and going. So you look at mental health as it relates to anxiety and overthinking, right? Overthinking leads you to 10,000 different narratives and stories and whatever. But then that also feeds your anxiety. And then so you try to figure out, wait, why am I feeling this anxious? And then you start thinking through that again. That feeds your overthinking, which feeds your anxiety, which feeds your overthinking, feeds your anxiety, feeds your overthinking. So it's a whole Mobius loop. It never ends. Now, what's the difference between the two? You know you're overthinking if you spend a lot of time ruminating on one particular situation, issue, or topic, right? Now, I would say, if you got to think about something, give yourself, depending what it is, give yourself 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and come to a decision. Overthinking is when you just can't make a decision because you're thinking through 10,000 different things. Anxiety is almost like an underlying fear. Because when you really think about it, you're anxious because you're fearful.
Yeah.
If you're about to go on stage and you start feeling very, very anxious, which by the way is actually very normal. There are some people, they get on stage cool as a cucumber. They feel nothing, which is all good. They're like seasoned professionals.
Yeah, that's
But
right.
if you get up and you feel anxious about it,
Yeah.
that's actually a good thing because number one, you obviously have something that you really care about that you want to perceive the right way or portray the right way. Number two, the value of what you're about to bring, you want it to be spot on. So I think that's totally normal. The anxiety is grounded in fear. Overthinking might be grounded in fear, or it could just be a compulsive. I think it's the coffee from earlier. Eh? Yeah, the overthinking
you.
could be, it could be a bit of a compulsive need to control everything, right? So if you try to control everything, you're thinking through every single scenario, or you just want every scenario to be exactly how you want it. It's never going to happen, right? So the difference between the two is one is an actual physiological response to whatever's going on. So physiological meaning it's showing up in your body, right? Some people get cold sweats, some people start jittering and shaking, yada yada yada. The other one is more like a mental gymnastics exercise, right? If it's showing up in your body and you can feel it, you're like, yo, something is off. And you're just super, super anxious. It could be because you're overthinking a situation. Think about primary school. You've got a speech to do, right? Before you go up there, you're shaking in your boots. You're just thinking through like all the things you could say wrong, yada, 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 right? That's the overthinking feeding the anxiety. So an easy way to put it, anxiety is an emotion. Overthinking is like a mental marathon. Right, one is very emotional, one is very logical. When you get too logical, and then you can't really come to like a conclusion, then you get anxious because you can't come to a conclusion, and then you try to figure out, okay, how do I come to a conclusion? Then you start overthinking again, and then that makes you even more anxious because now like you've gone down a rabbit hole where you just haven't stopped. Right, so one is purely a mental exercise, the other is an emotional reaction to the mental exercise.
Yeah.
Just like if you're happy, right? If you're thinking happy thoughts, Like your heart might start beating a little bit. Like, you might smile. You'll be like, oh, this is so good.
Let's go.
Yeah, you get goosebumps, right? That's the emotional response to the mental exercise going on in your head.
Yeah.
Just like if you're thinking depressing thoughts.
Yeah.
Let's say, for example, I go, picture a dude, he's sitting there slouched over, his face is looking a little bit like withdrawn, and his body's just a little bit like, like weak looking, right? And his head is between his legs. What sort of emotion do you reckon that person's feeling?
It's sad.
Yeah.
Sad, depressed,
Yeah. Depressed.
right?
That's right.
So whatever's going on in the mental shows up in the physical
Yeah, for
all
sure.
the time. So one's physical, one's purely mental.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
And what about yourself, Steve? What are some of the things that has helped you to sort of reduce some anxiety that maybe you've experienced prior?
Well, I find that anxiety and overthinking are very interlinked, and they contribute to one another. So the best way that I find you deal with it is you look for the underlying insecurity that's causing the overthinking and the buildup of anxiety. So often I would like to say, okay, if I'm afraid to present in front of the crowd, is it because I'm worried about what their opinions will be of the content I'm trying to produce? Or am I afraid of the way I'm going to come on stage? Am I like feeling good about myself? And is that making me feel a bit anxious about how I'm, going to show my skills to the audience? So I always reflect on the insecurity, and I'm like, okay, how do I remedy this? What can I do today just to get myself in the right headspace? So then I'll be like, okay, maybe I'll hit the gym today, feel just fully energized and pumped up. And that should give me like they'll give me the charge I need to be like, let's go and present today. Or sometimes what I'll do is, I'll hype myself up. I'll listen to like a motivational video for like 5-10 minutes, something cool that I really enjoy listening to, where it'll be like, don't quit, you got this, believe in yourself. Just charge myself up, you know what I mean? Just gear myself up. Even I'll listen to a song that really gets me going, like Lose Yourself by Eminem or something.
Yeah,
or
music is medicine.
The music is medicine, bro.
Music is medicine.
So, I'll use all of these little tricks to kind of get me in a hype state, a very heightened state, where I'm just feeling myself, I'm energetic, and I'm like, let's go. And that usually lets me feel more comfortable before I go out and I present. And in terms of what I'm presenting, if I have insecurities about that, I always look at like, they have asked me to present for a purpose, whether it's for a client or for a company, whatever the purpose is, or even just for people who I'm just trying to help. There's a reason that they've asked me to be here. So there's a reason that I bring that value to the table. So then I think about what value I'm bringing and just reflect on that. I'm like, okay, the value that I'm obviously naturally talking about is what these people want. I don't need to overthink this. Me at a base level will produce what they want. So then I just go out there, I just trust my instincts, number one. I keep it really simple. So if I'm using slides or any resources to help me present, I'll keep it really simple. Whatever can give me the triggers to get me in the best state of flow to produce and show all the things I want to get across to my audience. And that's what I go with. And I keep it really simple in that way. And yeah, that's how I did it.
That's powerful.
For sure.
That is powerful.
And with anxiety, I think there's obviously medicine that people sort of lean towards. But from what I'm hearing from the both of you, you guys haven't even mentioned any medicine, right?
Yeah.
And if I could add on to anxiety as well, I like what Steve said, because I think you have to be able to be comfortable with your own self in order to become your best cheerleader. Because when those negative thoughts happen, and let's just say you're single, you don't have anyone around you, like you're living on your own and you got no one to pick you up. That's where that internal voice, that internal fortitude really comes in handy. So before we, tackle anxiety, I guess let's go back a bit. For those that are still suffering from low self-esteem, or maybe they're still not able to find their foot in the world, what are just some of the practical tips that they can do to help them develop that self-esteem? I know we've talked about working out. We've talked about, getting rejected and just developing that confidence. But what are some of the other things that you guys believe can help with that?
Yeah. Look, man, new clothes.
That's right. Style.
Like, new dress.
Yeah. And look, and I get that there is a unique style where you're wearing like overly baggy stuff. Nothing wrong with it. That's cool. Right. there's something about clothes that hug your body that feels good, right? If you guys know about obviously like people who get like anxiety very easily, if they're having like an anxiety attack, just hug them really tight. They feel very secure all of a sudden. They calm down, right? Same effect we have like clothes that actually fit you. There's a comfortable sort of like security you get from clothes that fit you really, really, really good.
That's right.
It's like you get like a fresh tuxedo, tailor-made, fits every angle. You're like, oh,
A good
this is
fresh
snug.
Looking good.
Yeah, right? Like if you get like a nice like Tom Ford stitched up and everything, man, like the hem's done and everything, bro, you're like, yeah, nah, I'm feeling this.
Yeah,
Right?
boy.
There's something about that.
That's right.
There's definitely something about that, man. Support circles, right? Support circles. You can definitely rely on support circles, especially like a support network. Now, you can also look at stuff like if you have like a peer group who tend to face the same thing, right? And the thing that I like about what do they call these groups? I can't remember what they call these groups.
Connect groups?
Not necessarily. It's kind of like imagine and like you see this on documentaries, right? People go to like Alcoholics Anonymous or whatever. They get around and talk about how they're each trying to like sort of deal with it in their own way.
Yeah.
Getting a support group where you're all sort of dealing with the same thing, but you can support each other through it is another way, because you know one mind is not going to get you out of that situation.
That's right.
You hear somebody else's idea, like, oh,
Yeah.
that could be a way to do it.
It's also motivating, right?
It's also motivating because you see that it's possible to get over it,
That's right.
right? You also have the element of going to a therapist, right? Like, shout out to all the therapists, man. They can uncover some stuff.
That's right.
And sometimes you don't know what the triggers are. I was listening to a book on Blinkist by Caroline Leaf. And like I've read a lot of her work, right? And she talks about being able to identify when something is causing you an emotional reaction, but then getting to the root of it. Right? Getting to the root of it is the key, because you can slap a Band-Aid fix, you get a new suit, hit the gym, go get rejected, but you're still just covering it up. You don't really get into the root.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right.
Suppose, for example, I don't know, you just got dry skin all the time. Right? You're like, oh yeah, let me just put like some moisturizer on it. Moisturizer.
That's right.
Every single time. Suppose it's an underlying medical condition, you never get to the root.
That's right.
And all you do, you're just medicating it temporarily, and that doesn't really change anything. So you definitely want to get to the root, because once you get to the root, you can get to a point where you start to identify what are the triggers.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
If somebody knows that, for example, let's say they're walking into their office, they just get anxious.
Yeah.
Right? You're kind of like, oh, like why am I getting anxious? Rather than like, oh no, like let me deal with it. Let me just get to work straight away. Maybe look at, okay, well, 3 years ago, the first time I walked into the office, maybe you first got this actually happened to me. This actually happened to me.
All right.
Story time.
I was 6 months in.
Story.
Yeah. So let me just sip my tea real quick while Steve is joking over there.
I was a bit excited there. I was like, please, let's go.
I'm 6. Have you guys ever heard of like short man syndrome? Right? Like these short people just have nothing better to do than just bark at everybody. Right? Like it is what it is.
Little pit bulls, you know?
Yeah, little chihuahuas, they don't bite. You know what I mean? Yeah. So anyway, I'm 6 months into this into this job.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna say where. Who cares? So funny enough, the place where I work at the moment, right? So 6 months in, this is like my first 6 months, and I hadn't even really climbed the ranks to like, you know, to get to like mid-level management or whatever. 6 months in, just doing my thing. Me coming from like a PT / like customer service type background, you know what I mean? I was a people guy in terms of like, you know what, let's get the person what they need.
Yeah, that's right.
So this person hitting up the lines of the office. Oh, I'm looking for so-and-so. I'm not going to say the name, obviously. Oh, I'm looking for so-and-so. Is he there? I'm like, nah, I've tried transferring. Like, you know, I can't get him there. Somebody else will pick up. I got somebody else to pick up the call. And then I get the call. This time, like, this lady had called like 3 days in a row. She's absolutely fuming. She's like, I can never get a hold of this guy. Right? Like, he got me onto this product. Now he doesn't pick up my phone. It's like, what the heck? I'm like, look, you know what? I can't find him either. I know where his desk is in the office, but he's not there. So I don't know where he is. What I can do, though, I can send him an email and copy you into it. Now, she didn't have his email at this point. So me being me, I'm like, God, let's do the right thing to serve the customer. I'm like, hey, XYZ name. So-and-so is, you know, she's trying to get a hold of you. Here's her phone number, yada, yada, yada. Right? And he had an autoresponder on. And on his autoresponder had his phone number. And now she's hitting up his line. To be fair, it's his client.
That's right.
It's his client. So I'm like, hey, that's
Take
the right
responsibility
thing to do.
for your client.
So I'm just chilling. You know, I'm with my team, you know, like my then manager at the time, like he's there, you know, doing his thing, like walking up and about. The whole sales floor is packed full of people. this little guy. I see this little guy like approaching me. And he comes along, he's like, oh, hey, are you Simba? I'm like, yeah, that's me. I'm like, what's your name? He's like, I'm so-and-so. I'm like, oh, hey, nice to meet you. Oh, why did you give her my email? Yeah, I'm like, damn, bro, what got into you? First time I'm meeting this guy. First time.
Dang.
And I'm like, what the hell got into this guy? He's like, oh, I shouldn't have sent the email, yada, yada. I'm like, bro, this is your client. They were looking for you. Like, you don't pick up the phone, right? Long story short, like Steve said, he was just dodging responsibility. Anyway, long story short, a few months later, I heard his name being thrown around the office. I was like, oh, no, I don't like that guy because of that interaction, right? And funnily enough, I had some mentorship from Dr. Caroline Leaf. Like, she does like neuroscience, neuroplasticity, all that kind of stuff. And we went through it, and she goes, all right, cool. So you hear this name. It causes you like an anxious response. Why? First, I couldn't figure it out. I'm like, I don't know. I just don't like him. And she asked me this one question. This is a little exercise, right? Next time you feel anxious or sad about something, that's probably a trigger if you can't explain why. So she sat me down. She goes, when is the first time you remember feeling anxious when it came to this person? What's your first interaction with this person? When is the first time you remember this interaction and what was it like? And bang, it clicked. And I was like, oh, that's why. Because now I don't want to face that situation again. So every time I hear his name or see him, I walk the other way or I just run away. Then eventually I got through it. And I got over it, reframed the situation and whatnot, and moved on. Right. So anytime that you feel anxious or anything else like that, go back to the root. When is the first time you remember feeling that anxiety about that particular situation?
Love that.
So
That is then how you get through it. And then now that you know what it was,
Yeah.
then you can affirm yourself. Oh, look, you know what? Let's say, people's words don't hurt me.
Yeah.
Right? Or whatever the heck it is.
Yeah.
Or, maybe that person was having a bad day. Whatever. You can use affirmations. Then the affirmations and then hitting the gym to get the energy out and putting on a fresh suit. Then it'll start to work in that transformation because you found the root. But if you haven't found the root and just keep slapping cream on there instead of going to get like a proper diagnosis, how are you going to know what to fix?
That's right.
Get to the root.
Get to the root.
Yeah, that's my piece. That's
Man's
my
a gardener, bro. Look at him.
I'm gardener, bro.
Nurturing
Horticulturalist.
people up, bro.
Yeah,
I like
man,
it.
drinking green tea. It must be the green tea, bro. Yeah, there's something in this cup.
There's something in
There's
this cup,
something in
bro.
this cup.
Love the tea. Okay.
That's good tea.
All right. Cool.
Yeah.
Interesting. So my perspective is mostly to do with self-talk. Good, positive self-talk is so important. The voice in your head is so key because you control, your mind allows you to control everything. So if your mind is in a good state of, balance and clear, then everything in front of you can face with power and clarity. And you got an objective, you're focused, and you're going to go out there and make it happen, right? So having that sort of clarity through good self-talk is important. I love hanging out with my special forces mates because I learned so much from them, because a lot of the things that they have to do are humanly crazy, the situations they get themselves in. And often, no matter how difficult the situation is, they have to actually have a strong mental self-talk amongst themselves and within each other to really dig deep and go, okay, no matter what, we're going to get through this. Right.
Yeah.
And we can really apply that in every aspect of our everyday lives. Right. If we just go, all right. So if I take the example, we're going to approach a girl or something, right? If you're just going to go, I don't know if she'll like me, I don't know if what I'm wearing or my beard, or, I didn't get a haircut today, or maybe the perfume, I didn't put enough perfume, maybe she'll smell and she'll say, oh my God, or maybe with the way I eat,
You got
fork, you know what I mean? All of this, if you put good self-talk in your head, you're just like, man, you got this,
So true.
You're just going to go out there, you're going to put a cheeky smile, just be a little bit sly, see what she likes.
Now, player, Himalaya.
You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
Just go out there and just write it. Even if you shoot
Just write
blanks, just smile and just be like, yeah, we got this,
Yeah.
Also when you're in the gym, when you're in the gym, you're gonna lift weight, your mate goes, oh man, you can lift more, you can lift for 20, you're kind of like, oh no, I've been lifting 16 kg, 20 is like 4 more kg, a bit too much, you know what I mean? But just go out there, when you get it, just you just gotta I got this, and just get into the mongrel within yourself, build that grit, and just press, breathe and press and dig deep, right? It's the same concept. It's just you got to tell yourself, I can do this. And then whatever situation it is, you will actually have more energy within yourself. It builds energy when you talk good about yourself.
Yeah.
The biggest problem we face is we're looking for other people to affirm that goodness and be like, you got this, bro. You can do it. But
External validation.
exactly, get that out of your head. Screw whatever they say, good or bad, and just go, I can do this. I'm going to do this. Man, I'm going to smash this, Talk about it yourself and get pumped up, feel that energy, and then channel that energy. And whatever you're doing, you're going to do at a better level, at least 110%. Okay? And another thing is, I think this is so key, especially among men, and I really stress this, is just to freaking talk. Like, actually go to your mate. Just talk it out. Talk it out. Just be like, all right, bro. Look, man, I just got to be real with you. I'm feeling really, really down, and I just need to hang out. I need to, and then like talk about it. Be like, I'm feeling really shitty about this girl I saw. I'm trying to win her over, and she's not replying to my messages, whatever. If that's how you feel, if you're feeling shitty about it, don't live with those thoughts in your head, because like Simba said, that actually creates triggers. And then the next time you approach a girl and you're like, you want to speak to her, for example, you're gonna be like, oh no, it's happening again. She's not replying to me.
Stay on that. Stay on that one. I gotta jump in real quick before I forget.
All right, shoot.
Okay. This is like the dating coach days.
It's Aliut. Let's go.
This is like the dating coach days. So one thing that ruins people, especially when it relates to like a dating or a breakup, is people don't process these situations. They don't process situations. Right? If you want to get over a breakup or anxiety about approaching girls or going on dates or whatever, this is what you need to do.
All right.
Every time something bad happens to you in the dating scene, or relationship wise, every time something bad happens, don't move past it and try to just slap a band-aid on it. No. Go and process it. Okay, what happened? What did I do that contributed to it? What did she do that contributed to it? Or he do, or whatever the heck it is? And how can I handle this next time? People need to process it. Because like Steve said, they become triggers because you don't process it. You can't just let it happen. Then you kind of like, let me run away from it. Let me go feel better. No. Sit and process it. And then next time you go approach another girl, I don't know. Talking to like redhead girls like triggers you.
Yeah.
But why? Maybe like, I don't know, 6 years ago or 10 years ago in high school, you asked out like a redhead girl, she said no, and you're like, they're all bad.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like your mind makes up these stories, right?
Yeah.
Like this amygdala, right? Like it makes up and finds patterns to avoid
subconsciously,
so that you stay safe, because your brain's decided to just keep you safe.
Yeah.
And your brain thinks,
and
okay, if you that's right. And your brain thinks if you talk to another redhead girl, you're gonna die.
Yeah.
Like it literally just does that.
You're gonna
right?
cry.
Yeah. Your brain goes, we nearly died last time, so
we ain't doing
have
that
to die.
again. Yeah.
Exactly. So you gotta go back, process that situation, see it for what it is, and then go, okay, so maybe not all redhead girls are crazy. Like, look, there's a stereotype that goes around. I've never validated, so I don't know. Don't ask me about that one. But maybe they are crazy. I don't know. I think they are. Who cares?
We'll find out one day.
Yes. I hope not. I don't want to find out. I don't want to find that one out. Right? Or like there's a stereotype. There's a stereotype where they say about blondes.
Yeah.
Like, she's being a blondie.
That's right.
I've met some really smart blondes.
I was gonna say.
You know what I mean? So not every
yeah.
stereotype. You might come across like the one in the lifetime one, or maybe one in 5.
Yeah.
Where you're like, that one affirms a stereotype.
Yeah.
But it's not always the case. The same deal like all these traumas people go through.
Yeah, that's right.
Right? Anyway, continue. I thought I'd just jump in with that.
No.
Process your dating traumas so that you don't take them onto the next one and then ruin that person, and then they have more traumas.
Yeah.
Then you both need
A
therapy.
cycle of traumas.
The Mobius loop, it just keeps going. You get traumatized, you traumatize them, and then they get traumatized someone else, you get traumatized if that's the person you end up with, and then you get traumatized somebody else. It just keeps going. It never ends.
It's
But
a
if you stop-
never-ending cycle.
Yeah, if you stop and you process it, it's like if a bike is rolling.
Yeah.
Shove a broomstick in the middle of the spokes, the bike stops.
Yeah.
That's what
right.
you got to do. Like you shove that spoke of like, let me revisit what happened. Let me process it. Let me give it a new meaning, because in the moment you just make up, oh no, she doesn't like me.
Yeah.
Cool. But then you go repress it. Maybe she had a bad day. Maybe this,
Exactly.
maybe that. Maybe it's nothing to do with you.
That's right.
I had this one client. This is the last one I'll let you get back to.
No, all good, bro.
I had this one client. This is ages ago. I specifically remembered this one.
Yeah.
Because this one, like, I was dumbfounded. I was like, what the hell?
You want to slap him?
Yeah.
I relate. I have that feeling sometimes.
Yeah, I was like, wait, hang on, what the heck? Because I couldn't believe what I was hearing.
Yeah.
But the more I started to test it,
Yes.
I was like, oh, this is true.
Understand.
Okay.
So he was very good, like at the art of talking. My man had riz, like riz on riz.
Okay.
Bruh, like on a good day, and like these were his words back then. Obviously, he looks a lot better now. Like he's like a total chat and everything.
Yeah.
On a good day, he'd be like a 6 or a 7 out of 10. Like 6 out of 10 more realistic is what girls would rate him. But he made up for like with his mouthpiece because like he was just gifted, bro. Like he could just spit. He could spit.
Wow.
But there was this habit. He'd get like a really like smoking hot girlfriend.
Yeah.
It would last maybe like 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
And then he's down in the dumps again.
Yeah.
And then he'd get another really hot girlfriend 2-3 months later, down in the dumps again. Right? And I remember pulling one of the girls, because like she was one of my actual PT clients in the gym.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, so obviously, you know, like this guy's been like, he's been with a couple of girls. She's like, yeah. I'm like, what was this breakup about? Like, what's going on? Like 2-3 months, yada, yada, yada. She's like, you know, and like this girl was really smart. She was really smart. She's like, you know what I actually think it is? I'm like, what? She goes, I think he keeps sabotaging it because he just doesn't think he's good enough for somebody on my level of social status to be with him. And I was like, oh, damn. So sometimes it's got,
so true.
Yeah, sometimes like, you know, like it's not the other person. It could be you.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're just thinking like you're not good enough to be with that kind of person.
Yeah.
But then that person just likes you for you being you.
Yeah, that's right.
And I was like, what the hell? So I started testing it. Come to find out it's true. Right? People will get with other people, but then one of them has like this like mental thing. It's kind of like, oh, I'm not that good enough for that person, yada, yada, yada. So like when they receive compliments, they wouldn't actually accept them. Because I'm like, that can't be true because like I'm not that good anyway. They're like, yeah, thanks or whatever. And it'll work both ways.
Yeah, that's right.
It'll work both ways.
Yeah.
It was the craziest thing. I was actually dumbfounded. I was like, bro. And I remember asking, I'm like, hey man, so you had all these girlfriends.
Yeah.
On the social scale, smoking hot. Why keep breaking up?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like she changed. I'm like, she changed? He's like, yeah, you know, like she changed. Like, I don't know. Like she was a different person to who I was dating.
Yeah.
And then I told him about my little study. And we started diving through some stuff. All right. Come to find out, in high school, some girl told him that he was ugly, like he could never get a hot girlfriend. And so he kept sabotaging himself to re-enter into that challenge again.
Yeah.
So he would get the girl, sabotage himself,
and then go back to it.
Yeah. Cause something to happen where the relationship breaks off so that he has to reprove that he can actually get a hot girl. But he's trying to prove himself.
Bro.
Yeah.
He was going back in time, bro.
Yeah, literally. So this whole time, he's trying to prove wrong that girl from high school. He probably just forgot about him anyway.
Yeah.
So he's self-sabotaging himself just to keep proving that, no, I can get a hot girlfriend.
Yeah.
Which is where his skill of being able to like to riz came from.
I see.
Right? So he just kept 2-3 months. All right, cool. Going great. He does something to sabotage it. He's back there. No, I'm going to prove to everyone that I can get another hot girl. Just kept going. When he finally realized that, he was like, holy nuts. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, so when you get to that 3 month point, what are you doing to sabotage?
That's right.
Right. So go and assess, like, what are you doing to cause these relationships to break down? Because then you get heartbroken because the relationship break down. But you caused that breakdown because you sabotaged it because you had a trauma from ages ago. You're trying to prove this girl wrong that you can actually get a good girlfriend. Damn. That's what the doctor ordered. Shot in the arm.
Yeah.
that was a booster right there.
I mean, he just got headshotted, but yeah, that's
What a story.
dang. That's
Traumas go deep. Traumas go deep.
Story time with Simba.
A lot of stories, man.
Right now, back to where I was going as well. It's to do with the triggers, right?
The triggers.
So it's to do having those discussions are so critical because then at least you get to delve deep into exactly why you're feeling the way you are, and often speaking about your feelings actually alleviate those feelings from within your chest, from within your body, from within your heart to actually be a little bit more free. And hearing it from actually hearing those words come out of your mouth and hearing it in again, it actually makes you think differently about it. So sometimes you're just like, I'm really sad, I feel this way, just feel a bit anxious. I don't feel good with my body, I haven't hit the gym in like, I think about 3-4 months. Feeling a bit bloated, I see my friends going to the gym, they're so fit, also I'm just not feeling satisfied with work, like, is it really what I want to do, etc. And you're just kind of, when you hear yourself say it, it's kind of like aha moment. You're like, oh, what? Wow. I really feel like this about myself.
Mm.
Is this what I'm really thinking about in my head? And it's really refreshing to hear like a mate speak about it too and shed their light. They're not necessarily the counselor or the therapist. Like whatever they're saying is from their own experience, but it
Yeah.
just also adds value to like what you're feeling. And
Straight up.
it's actually really nice to just have that chat. And then from there you can kind of figure out, I need help.
Yeah.
Or I can be like, I can do this and this and this to help myself. You know what I mean? Like, we have this one mate, right? He's really, 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 he's not happy with his body.
Yeah.
He's really, really hates the way he looks, and he's actually just an average guy, right? And he's just trying to, he's pretty decent looking, but he's not content. So we had to kind of chat to him and go, why are you not happy with yourself? And when he spoke about it openly, that's the first time you can really see that it's been on his mind for a hella long time. And he'll be like,
Yeah.
oh, it's the fact that I don't train as much compared to you boys. It's it's basically the fact that I look at myself and go, oh, I could look so much better like this. I could lift so much more. I don't feel like this comfortable in my clothes. So then we were like, okay, why don't we get clothes that you do feel comfortable in? Let's go shopping together. So we actually took him to like a few stores he likes and got him some stuff he likes. And he started to feel like, oh, when he wore them, we would put positive affirmations and give him positive feedback.
Yeah.
And then he would actually use that as triggers, positive triggers in his head, right? Subconsciously, that's what we were doing. He didn't realize that at the time, but we intentionally did that. And why we did that is now whenever he wears a shirt, he's like, yeah, man, I feel fly. My boys, bro.
Yeah, he'd be feeling himself.
He'll be feeling himself.
Yeah.
Even to the point where he can make decisions and buy clothes that he would like and still be like, I'm sure it'll be good. He might even message us and be like, boys, look at this fit. Woof, what do you think? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a little things. And when he's in the gym, another thing is because he's now talked about his feelings, we're all aware that he feels this way. So whenever he comes to the gym, we don't let him talk and just walk around and dilly-dally. We keep going, bro, you want to look good? You want to look fit? You want to feel good? Mate, let's get in here. Let's train. Like, we G him up, we push him. And you know what? He gets in there. He puts his effort. Effort is key, right? Anyone can tell you to do whatever. But if you don't put in goddamn effort, how are you going to get anywhere, right? So he put in effort, and now he's starting to see results. And he's actually surpassing some of us in strength. Because he's actually realizing that potential existed within himself this whole time. But because he was looking at it in a negative mindset and not actually reliving his negative emotions, he wasn't able to really tap into it. So now that he's talking to the boys, getting that and working on himself, he's feeling more confident. He's feeling more self-assured and even more empowering. He believes in himself. Right? And that all just came from talking about his feelings. And I'll give one more example just to wrap up. I actually, this is a personal one. When I went through a dark time in my life, a lot of my mates, they were all really busy. And the time I hated the most was weekends. I could not take weekends. Weekends gave me anxiety, made me feel alone, made me feel really sad because, whether it was a breakup or whatever, even just like when my friends were transitioning in uni to work, they were all busy on weekends. And I had 48 hours of just me and my thoughts. I was at home.
It's a dangerous place.
Dangerous place, man. So like the way I actually overcame those challenges was this. One, I decided to see if I can get a job on the weekend because if I'm just going to stay and I have that time, I'm going to be productive with that time. Let's make some moolah. Make some money. If you make some money, you spend some money, feels good either way, right? What are you
cash
losing?
Money.
So I was trying to get a job and I succeeded. Another thing is I decided training. If I have time, why don't I work on myself? Why don't I, build muscle, box, keep fighting, why am I not using that time to actually level myself up? So I got into boxing and fighting and training. So I was training then on Saturday and I was also training on Sunday. And when I was feeling really ambitious, I was training 2 times a day because I had the time. Right. And so I was leveling up at exponential rates in all of these little things. Work was good, making bank a little bit extra. I was training. And then as I started training, I made friends. They would say, "Want to hang out?" Yeah, sure. And another big key thing. This goes back to my previous point. I spoke to my mates and I said, "I'm not feeling good on the weekends." And I actually remember yourself, Christo, and you, Simba, when I actually came one day and I was saying, "Man, I'd just love to hang out with you guys on the weekend. I'm just, not feeling 110%." Both of you guys actually said, "Let's go para, let's do something." And
Oh, that was a dinner night.
yeah, it was a dinner night. Let's roll, boys. Hey.
We remember that day.
Yeah, some
That
memories.
restaurant is closed, by the way.
Yeah, it's closed.
I walked past it.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
bro.
Oh,
I was like, working in the city now. Okay. I was like, okay.
Yeah, change
Anyway,
of
continue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me get back to my beautiful story, boy. So I remember the team looked after me. I had a maddest night, but it really just like opening.
That was a good night.
It was a good night. But I spoke to you guys about it, and I remember speaking to a few of my other boys at the gym. And all my boys, all my best mates, even just general mates in general, were putting in effort to come and see me or like hang out with me. And all of a sudden, my calendar started getting filled up with hangouts, this and that. And I remember like it was bloody full. And then another thing that I realized was goes back to my own heart, where I was like, I love doing this, I love designing this and that. Why don't I put some of my passions into the weekends, right? And then I started, doing designing and, doing coaching and then, working on my business. All of a sudden, the lonely 48 hours was filled with things I love to do.
Yeah.
Being with people I love to be with. And even when I spoke to my family about the loneliness and the heartache, they were like, "Come, let's have a family dinner. Let's do we'll walk the dogs in the park." And all of a sudden, my activities were just being filled with people and everything to make me feel good, add to my happiness, add to my cup. And yeah, it was just such a good feeling. And I think more people need to do that, when they're in that state of mind, have your open discussions and try to fill your cup with things you love to do. And you'll be surprised. It
I think
really helps.
there's one thing on the back of that, man, which is one of these quotes, like in my little Rolodex of like 44 life principles. And it goes like this: hope doesn't build bridges, action does.
Yeah.
If you want to build a bridge, you can't sit there and hope like for the next 20 years. It'll never be built.
Yeah.
Like the guys who built like the Sydney Harbour Bridge or the Eiffel Tower or the San Francisco Bridge, the Golden Gate Bridge, they didn't sit there and be like, one day we hope to build a bridge.
No.
And they just sat there. Like it's not going to build itself. They had to take action.
Yeah.
Right? So like what Steve was saying, like you got to take action.
Fired up.
Yeah, hope doesn't build bridges.
No, it
action
doesn't.
does. And like it depends. Like what's the action that you need, right?
Yeah.
Like if you need to go talk to your mates, do it.
That's right.
If you need to go see a therapist, do it. There's no shame in talking about it, right? And there are so many resources, right? Like for dudes, men's mental health does not get talked about enough.
Yeah.
That's why there are institutions like Black Dog Institute, right? They focus on men's mental health,
Yeah.
right? And if you look at like all like the different rates of like causes of different life catastrophes, we don't want to get banned for saying the wrong word, so I'm not going to say it, right? A lot of it happens to mainly men,
Yeah.
right? So if you need to get that help, like go and call Lifeline, right?
Yeah.
There's the whole Are You Okay movement.
Yeah.
There is the helpline.
Yeah.
There is Black Dog Institute. There are so many different avenues where people can actually get that help, right? But that's still an action. That's an action.
Yeah.
So a little challenge.
No, I love that. And bouncing on that, there's one thing that's really important. The power of execution, right? You spoke about it just briefly. I love it because the really important thing is, I believe you need to execute, you need to make adjustments and reassess and execute again. If you want to keep executing at a high level, you will always need to make adjustments. Why? Because your environment is dynamic. It'll never be consistent. So if you don't make adjustments, you're going to miss. And the time you miss at the wrong point, you will miss a great opportunity.
Game over.
That's right. Game over. But if you execute, make adjustments, you'll hit things in quick succession and it'll lead to success. And that is freaking powerful.
Yeah.
That's actually a really good way to just keep yourself from procrastinating and just going, let's make it happen.
Yeah. Straight up. I'll leave the people with the challenge. All right. A practical I'm a practical guy.
Yeah, I like it.
I'm a practical guy. That's what I was doing for years. All right. So here's my challenge is this. if you want to clear up your mental and your emotional traumas, here's the challenge.
Okay. Tell me.
And if you want to find out what's hiding under there, here's the challenge. Sit down with yourself. I do like a weekly audit. Who said it? 50 Cent in the 50th Law. He talks about
what a book.
assessing yourself like on a regular interval to see how are you moving, how are you acting, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
I'm going to switch it up a little bit. Here's a challenge. Every single week, set an appointment with yourself. For me, it's like normally like a 9 p.m., right? On like a Sunday night, for example.
Yeah.
Set an appointment with yourself and sit and ask yourself this. What are the emotions that I felt the most during this week? And then write sadness, loneliness, anger, whatever the emotions are.
Yep.
Question number 2 to ask yourself, what caused me to feel these emotions? And sit and think. Because if you ask yourself questions, your brain already knows. It never forgets. It's the best recording device on the planet. It'll actually tell you what those things are.
That's right.
And then the final question, next time these scenarios show up, how will I handle it so that it doesn't emotionally affect me like this? That's my challenge for the peeps. A self-audit.
Yeah.
Self-audit your week and the emotions that you feel.
Yeah, no need to hire a big 4 firm. Just do it yourself.
Don't get PwC now.
Yeah, mate, just dig deep, find out how fucked you are, and do work on it.
Dig deep and find the traumas.
That's right.
Yeah. The people's champ.
TPC.
Right.
Guys, we're actually about to run out of time. And I just wanted to actually talk about another mental health that we haven't covered, which is depression.
Ooh.
So I think it's a good segue from what you shared about having that low energy and then finding a support group or just doing action, like Simba said as well.
Yeah.
But for those that are depressed and they don't have that support group and they can't get out of that depression state,
Okay.
what would you say to them? What are some of the things that they can do to get themselves out of there? Because yes, there are help out there, but if they're not ready to get that help, what would you say to them?
Don't do the meds. Unless if it's been prescribed like clinically, that's a different story.
Okay.
So why I say that is, so one of my, we talked about this lady, Caroline Leaf, right? In the early stages of my mentorship with her, she told me a story about one of her friends who was a therapist, right? And she experiences one client whose husband unfortunately died. In the last like 7 or 8 years, this woman just never got over it. Therapist after therapist after therapist after therapist. She kept finding new therapist after therapist. She never got over it.
Because everyone dealing with the deep root.
Yeah, but the root was much deeper. And like they knew it was because like, she was now a widow. But apparently, this is according to her, apparently the mistake that was being made was that every single therapist had some sort of Band-Aid fix. Like, hey, try going for a walk, do this, do that. This therapist, who is well acquainted with neuroplasticity, stopped and said, you know what? Just let yourself feel it for a little bit. Just let yourself feel it. And what she then discovered was this woman didn't give herself time to grieve because she had to look after her kids, like her cousins, aunties, brothers, like everything, right? Like extended family.
Yeah, okay.
She was the one sort of like making sure everybody's okay, that she never got the time to grieve. And then once she actually let herself feel it, apparently it was over like a month or 2 months or whatever, she just let herself feel it. She was actually able to get over that because now that emotional energy was let out. Kind of like what we talked about, right? Like a dude has a breakup, bro, you got to let that energy out somehow.
Yeah.
So Dr. Caroline really talked about letting yourself feel certain things, but then not harboring on them. Like there's a half-life for everything.
That's forgive and let go.
Forgive and let go, and then take the situation for what it is, right? And then like obviously like uncovering that whole bit, like with the person of her letting herself grieve, was she was mad at him that he died early.
Yeah.
Which is obviously, like for whatever reason she had to feel that way. But after she grieved like enough, she was then able to really like let go. Okay, why did this hit her so heavy?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And then, like when we first got together, he promised that he would never leave me. Now he's left me, but it's out of his control.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, and of course, once you let yourself get through that process, do it like with the help of like a therapist, because sometimes you can get into these like mental traps. It's Mobius loop, right? You're depressed, like, why do I feel depressed? You start thinking, and the thing that's depressing you start thinking about that again. Right. And you feel even more depressed. Then you're like, wait, why do I feel that way? And then you go back up here, up, down, you never stop, like an elevator. Yeah.
Damn. That's some powerful stuff. And I think it goes hand in hand, right? Anxiety and depression.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
And I hope you guys out there, if you are really suffering from these mental health, I think Simba shared a lot of great help that you guys can reach out to and also resources. But if you guys enjoy this content, definitely let us know. This was definitely a topic that we wanted to address because as part of the Limitless Show vision, we want to help you guys overcome limiting beliefs, whether that's anxiety, whether that is depression. So we do hope that we've been able to add some value to you guys.
Yeah.
And in concluding this episode, Top D, did you have some parting thoughts that you want to share?
I just want to stress the fact that this is actually Mental Health Month for men.
Wow.
And a lot of people actually didn't know that. And that's partly why it fires me up to bring this topic to light. You know, we know when it's like Mother's Day, Father's Day, we know all of that. You know, we know all these other holidays that we celebrate, but we don't know the Mental Health Day of Men. And it's actually such a deep topic that needs to be addressed. And I hope that, you know, at one point we will even talk about the fact that some people actually don't know they have mental health issues. And that is something I hope that we will address in a coming episode as well, so that we can bring that to light for gentlemen and women who are experiencing that. Because like Simba expressed, there's these traumas and triggers, and if they go unaddressed for a long period of time, there is innate suffering and pain that exists within a person. And you need to deal with that. You can't bury it. You can't band-aid it. It's a part of who you are. It needs to be let out. It needs to be felt, and it needs to be remedied through your own journey, through your own actions. And we'll get to that. I'm sure we'll get to that. And that's probably my parting take.
Fantastic. Well, you heard it first, guys. Stay limitless out there, and we'll see you at the next one.
See you next time.
Do it.